Hey, everybody, it's Scott Steen with winnersandwhiners.com. Happy Friday, everybody. TGIF. It is the Friday edition of Today in Sports Betting. And as always, I am joined by my co-host, coming all the way from the great state of New York up there, getting excited for a lot of sports this weekend. I know we talked about a lot of them, and we're going to do our NASCAR show today. And who better to join me? He's on he's on a streak, man. He's owned the NASCAR space here last couple of weeks. He is Scott Reichel. What's up, buddy?
Nah, nothing much. Just chilling. Once again, really looking forward to not watching live golf for a couple hours today. But no, in reality, last week was very good with regard to NASCAR, and we'll go through the breakdown, I'm sure, in a bit. But hopefully, this upcoming weekend is going to be as profitable. But no matter what, from what I heard, I wasn't a math major in college, but I heard that 2 races are more than 1. So it should be a pretty jam-packed weekend.
Pocono. The track's so nice they ran it twice. Round out the old trio here today. I called him the Swiss Army knife yesterday. He's the utility infielder of Winners and Winers. You just plug him in. He's the what do we call him? The Ben Zobrist of podcasters, of writers, of handicappers. You got a sport. He's your guy. Man, what a build-up. It's Winning Willy, everybody. What's up? Willie Mormon. Bring him on.
Well, I just hope I can stick around as long as Ben Zobrist did. I like that comparison, but it's a pleasure to be back 2 days in a row.
Good to have you, man. We did a little UFC yesterday. We're going to do a little NASCAR today.
I think you meant world champion Ben Zobrist, right?
Absolutely, world champion Ben Zobrist. Good guy, good ball player. Plugged him in at the right time for the Royals. No question about that. Apropos nothing, by the way, I watched the last inning of the Royals' 2015 ALCS win last night. I was just flipping through channels and happened to be on. Watched Wade Davis put 2 guys on base with nobody out, and then
it's a classic Wade Davis move. So I feel like Rockies fans would know all about that.
Classic Wade Davis. So it is good to be here. Willie, we were talking yesterday when Scott wasn't ranting about golf. We talked about Pocono a little bit, and you said you actually like this track. Tell me about Pocono, or as I call it, the 2.5-mile boring triangle.
Well, I've always just been a big fan of Pocono just because it seems like it's one of the more easier to handicap, so to speak. You don't really see too many drivers just having a ton of success here, which I think is kind of fun. You may have a first-time winner here.
Okay.
So time out. So in other words, the race itself, you agree, isn't that great. From a betting perspective, you like it a lot. That's a qualifying statement.
Kind of, yeah, kind of.
Okay, so Scott, there is some wiggle room between the two of you where both of you might not actually like the race that much, but Willie likes it from a betting perspective, which hopefully all 3 of us do. So I think you can reach an agreement on that one.
Fair enough. Although I do know that anybody that says I really like this track because it's easy to handicap, man, you are thumbing.
That's a jinx and a half right there.
Gambling gods right there. I'm just saying. It's an interesting track. You've got the long shoot, you got the short shoot. You don't have a ton of banking, and I think that's what's it's just really you've got 14 degrees banking in turn 1, and then you got less than 10 degrees banking in the other 2. So it's really you don't have a lot of you see a lot of passing, you see a lot of stuff going on those shoots you're gonna hear that word a lot this weekend. The long shoot, the short shoot. So yeah, we're going to talk about this a little bit because it is a challenging raceway. It's not a set it and forget it like we drove at Talladega last weekend where you just keep your pedal to the metal. There's actual skill involved in this one. Skill involved in everyone, but this is a different skill set that's needed. So let's first of all. Let's get it out of the way. Let's talk a little bit about how we did last week. And, of course, I'm the only one that we have to get it out of the way for. These other guys have been relishing this moment. They both had Ryan Blaney to win at 11-1. Willie and Scott were both on the Blaney train. I don't know if you heard me mention this before. I happen to have Ricky Stenhouse Jr. at 22-1. and he finished second by 7/1000ths of a second, and caught him really right after that. He took the lead, nosed out in front, but you know what? Ifs and buts, candy and nuts, gentlemen. That's the difference between you guys cashing a pretty nice ticket and me missing out on a big one. So, congratulations, Ryan, Blaney, Scott, Willie. Take your victory lap. Very, very well done.
We would take our victory lap, but we let Ryan Blaney do that, so we're fine.
Yeah, he did okay. Willie, well done there, my friend.
Yeah, it was nice to get back in the win column again after a couple bad weeks.
Yep. You now Scott made up some ground. His here's how it broke down. His top three were Blaney, Chase Elliott, and Aric Almirola. Almirola ended up being a brilliant pick, third, right, Scott?
They came in third at 26-1, I believe.
Yeah, Chase Elliott, however, and I had him as well. We'll talk about that in a second.
You knew as soon as Scott and I were on Chase Elliott, it was all going to go downhill from there.
Not his day. All we did, Chase was a good name for him because that's all we did with that pick all day was chase it. And, Willie, on the other hand, he had Blaney and he also had Harvick. Not a terrible pick. Harvick was where was Harvick? Willie in the mid-teens, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Well, Harvick was second before it ended up going to overtime, so that pick looked really good before he kind of lost some spots during the extra racing period.
Well, yeah, I mean that's.
Then again, he's the one who caused the caution when he bumped into Jimmy Johnson, so I guess it kind of balances out that way.
And then he also had Austin Dillon. Had the wrong Dillon, Willie.
Well, it seems like those Dillon brothers just can't seem to catch a break, especially when it comes to avoiding wrecks. And I kind of figured he had a good car. He was running good. He just can't avoid a wreck to save his life.
Personally, I think it ought to be like when we're in the horse track when they put the two crappy horses together for one entry where you get 1 and 1A. I think it ought to be that way with betting the Dillon brothers. I think you should get Ty and Austin to this for one price. I think
well, based on how it's going this year, you can make the same argument for the Busch brothers, right?
Oh yeah. I bet we're going to talk about that in a minute. I'm gonna leave that because I bet it's going to come up. So, Willie had a decent day. He had 50. Scott had 42. He was the big winner. And I ended up sucking the hind. On here. As I had Logano was the one that really cost me as his fuel strategy. He ran short of fuel, ended up going from top 2 or 3 back to 17th. Of course, I jumped on the Chase Elliott Express as well. That one really cost me as he finished, I think, 38th, 37th.
Yeah, I think he finished 38th, but it didn't really matter.
Awful, no. And then, of course, Ricky Stenhouse, I had 57. So the standings are as follows after the last week. Willie back in the lead, 223. Rochelle, 238, just 15 points behind as he picked up 7 last time. And me, again, waiting on that good week. I'm at 271. So I got some work to do. Props real quick. I had a decent day with my matchup props. I was 3-1 on my props. I had Logano over Keselowski, Jones over Newman, Stenhouse over Almirola. Never a doubt. And
I thought you went 4-1 because you backed me on Newman versus Kenseth.
I didn't write that one down. You're absolutely right.
I thought you joined me on that one.
And I joined Willie on the Austin Dillon Express, and I took him over Di Benedetto, and that did not work out. Willie was having internet problems, so he didn't get props in. And Scotty, he had Elliott to be the top Chevy. Man, nothing like throwing a little more Elliott money in there. Excellent move.
Happens. It's been profitable in the past.
Hey, he took a double Ford dip and did a nice job. Had Blaney top Ford at 550. Of course, he sacrificed Logano top Ford at 450, but that was fine. Ends up making 350 in profit there, 3.5 units. Nicely done. He had Newman over Kenseth, Almirola over Di Benedetto, and Hamlin at stage 1 for 9. The one that did not pay off, but the other 2 did. So, well done, sir, all the way around. That's making some units. What did you end up finishing as far as units go on that?
I ended up making 7.21 units on the last
day. Fine day right there. So, well done. I hope you repeat the success, and I hope we all have even more success than you. So, there you go. So, here we go, boys. Going to Going to Pocono, Aruba, Jamaica. No, I'm sorry, that's Kokomo.
It's Montego.
Down to Pocono.
Yep.
All right, so Scott, you're a Pocono fan. You like this racetrack?
It's better than no racetrack. I'll tell you that much. If you want the comparisons, I'm not a big fan of Pocono, but I do think it's better than Homestead, for example. So I think there are worse tracks out there.
Okay.
Definitely not on my short list of favorite tracks. It's not going to compare anything like the Talladega race we saw last week, which is, it's a pretty tough act to follow, if I do say so myself. But I'm going to watch it. So, it is what it is. The thing about today's just sports world is the fact that no matter how bad a race is, you can probably bet on watching it. So, it's not like it really matters. It'll keep me entertained for a couple hours.
That is so true. That is absolutely spot on. So, Willie, we're going to see 3-wide racing at Pocono too. It just won't have the same intensity that it did last week at Talladega. That Talladega is a fun track, man. That is a lot of fun to watch. It's weird how different it runs from Daytona. It's just a different experience and a different track. So, all right. So Willie, you know what? Let's get it started, buddy. We've got a lot of choices out there. A lot shorter odds on some of these picks than we had last week. That was kind of the first thing I noticed. You've got a lot of picks in the 4.5, 5, 6 kind of range where we were more 10, 11 last week. So let's talk about some favorites, and then we'll talk about our dog. Of course, Willie, give me your first pick. Who do you like here?
Well, for my first pick, I think it's kind of obvious. I'm sure probably all three of us got him, but I'm going to go Denny Hamlin at 7-1. He's starting third. He's been by far the most successful driver here, I feel like, in the field. Got 5 wins here, 11 top 5s, and he loves the flat tracks. So, I mean, it's crazy to not get on Denny this week.
Yeah, he's nobody comes close to that to the 5 wins that Hamlin has there. Kyle Busch has 3, Kurt Busch has 3, but that's he is far and away the master of finishing the races and figuring out a way to win. A lot of guys have as many top 10s or they're as competitive as he is, but he's the one that's figured out how to win. Yeah, spoiler alert, I like that pick. Scott, do you want to tell us about why you took Denny Hamlin?
Simply put, he has 5 wins at Pocono. He's finished top 5 in 3 of his last 4 overall races. So outside of Pocono as well, I mean, top 5 in 3 of your last 4 overall races means you've been running pretty well over the last month. And, he just simply knows how to win here. So, spoiler alert, all 3 of us are on Denny Hamlin.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with everything these guys said. That team is running well right now. Denny always seems to be there at the end in that 11 Toyota, that FedEx car. I'm a fan. I'm a fan. He's got 3 top 10s in his last 4 appearances here. It's some of these guys have peaked at this track. I think Kurt Busch, Jimmy Johnson. I think those guys, obviously Kenseth and Newman. I think those guys' best days at Pocono are behind him. But Denny Hamlin seems to be the exception. He seems to still be able to master this track. And like Willie said, he is a fan of the short tracks the flat tracks for sure. So.
Yeah, well, plus it is worth mentioning that Hamlin has also just won twice this year, so he does know how exactly to manage fuel, for example, and how to actually make some moves late to help out. And I know Pocono is different than some of the tracks he's already won on this year, but I think you'll agree that the person who you're taking has a little bit more, I don't want to say credibility, but you feel a little bit more comfortable when you've actually seen them, in first place at the time of the checkered flag.
Yeah, agreed. Now, Willie, let me ask you this. This is this theory that you hear floating around in NASCAR circles. You hear the announcers talking about it every once in a while, and that is because these guys have already qualified for the playoffs by winning a race. Do they have less desire to pick up the win to get that checkered flag? Do you think those guys, knowing a little bit about NASCAR and knowing these NASCAR drivers a little bit, I don't buy it. I think these guys are just as hungry for wins as they ever have been. I can't imagine backing down, playing it safe. But I'm anxious to see you guys' opinion on this. Willie, what do you think? Is that a thing? Do you believe that's out there?
Well, I think if anything, they're just more willing to take a gamble because they know that they're safe, even if things don't go their way. But at the same time, yeah, these guys are competitors. They like to win, and especially somebody like Denny Hamlin per se. I would say it's a little different for other drivers, but of course they're not going to be driving with the fire of the person, going into that last race before the playoffs that needs a win to even get in. But at the same time, they like to win.
Yeah, I'm with you, Scott. You on board with us here, or do you think they back it off a little bit and maybe not take chances that they would normally take to get a win?
For me personally, I just think that they're competitors, and I think that they're always going to go for the W, especially considering the fact that you can make the argument that one trophy might be more valuable than another trophy. But at the end of the day, these people kind of just want to add some stuff to their collection in the trophy room. So if you have a chance to actually get the W in any given race, I feel like you kind of have to go for it. So for me, I don't think that plays much of a factor in terms of preventing drivers from going all out. I do agree with Willie that it could have a reverse effect in a positive way. We can make the argument that if one driver has already basically clinched a spot in the actual playoffs, they might be willing to go pedal to the metal late because they know if they crash it a la, Chase Elliott, then you don't really have that many long-term consequences because you know you're already safe for the actual, playoffs itself. So I think it might actually cause some of the high-profile drivers to be even more aggressive later in races because they know they don't exactly have to fight for position points.
Yeah, that's certainly an interesting counter take. I probably would tend to agree with that they probably play it a little looser and take some chances maybe that they wouldn't normally take. Scott, that kind of brings us. We didn't really make a big deal out of it, but tell us briefly how Aric Almirola finished third place at Talladega.
Well, the way that I would describe it is that it was kind of similar to what happened in Talladega Nights, where Ricky Bobby wins the race backwards while flipping off the opposing driver. In that one scene, just imagine that, except Almirola just crashed, but he finished backwards across the finish line.
Backwards across the finish line for the bronze medal. Beautiful job. It was really something to see. All right, so let's go with our. That was totally worthless right there. As we all started off with the same pick. So Scott, I'll let you lead off the second round here. Who you got is a plan B?
So this one is pretty interesting because this guy is actually he's had phenomenal results at Pocono, but I don't believe he's ever won here. And I feel like you know who I'm talking about. It's going to be Kevin Harvick, and it's going to be him at plus 650 on DraftKings. He's starting ninth, decent starting position. He's finished top 4 in 6 of his last 7 Pocono races. So he's been phenomenal. He's constantly at the front. However, he's had an issue of actually, lifting the trophy at the end. But in reality, if you are so steadily involved in the top 4 at the end of the race, I feel like I pretty much have to play you at 6.5 to 1. So for me, my second play is going to be Kevin Harvick at plus 650 on DraftKings.
Oh, this is awkward.
I'm assuming you're with me on this one.
I also have Kevin Harvick as my second pick for all the reasons that you said. Yeah, it does bother me a little bit with the fact that he hasn't been able to get to victory.
If you look at all of his results, though, he's always in the top 5. It's like 4th, 2nd, 4th, 5th. And it's just like, can you just win one time, please? Like, you're just right there every race.
And I think that's just probably more of a matter of racing luck. This isn't like Andy Reid with the clock. This isn't a reason he can't win a big game. He has the equipment. He has the team. He certainly has the ability.
It's not stopping me from taking him. I mean,
No.
I feel like you kind of have to based on his results.
He has success there for sure. My second pick as well is Kevin Harvick. Man, I'm not going to make up much ground on these guys this weekend. I got a bad feeling. Willie, who's your second pick?
I'm actually moving away from Kevin Harvick, which I will agree with you guys that I think he's overdue for a win here because him and Matt Kenseth are tied for the most starts here with 38 starts, and he has never won here, so he's definitely overdue. But I'm actually looking at someone who's won here before, and I'm going to hop back on the Brad bus in the Blue Deuce, Brad Keselowski at 8-1. He's sitting third amongst the active drivers here at average finish with 11.05. He's only got one win here in 20 starts, but he's finished in the top 10 or top 5 rather, in 10 of those. And he hasn't been he's been riding good this year, but I feel like he could be doing better.
Okay. And you've got him at what do you have for Mr. K?
Got 8-1 at DraftKings.
All right, I think that's a solid price. Just putting that in. You know, I got to say, can we tell him now, Scott? We really thought you were going to be.
I set the line for you to pick Kyle Busch at -180 to the yes, and decent plus price came in. So props to you, Willie. You got an underdog in there.
We really thought we thought you were going to thought you were going to ride the Kyle Busch Express, buddy.
I'll drop my Venmo after we get through here then.
All right, so I'm going to start off round number 3 here. This is, of course, the wild card round where we pick our long shot, our underdogs. For me, this is usually the pick that does the best. Is I don't know what that says. It either says I'm good at picking underdogs or I'm terrible at picking favorites. Maybe a little bit of both.
And I got both of your favorites this weekend. So yeah, I'm sure that's going to age really well for me.
I'm not loving how that's going to end up, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm going to take Mr. Jones. I'm going to take Aric Jones here in this one. This is a guy that's done a very nice job here at Pocono. He doesn't have a ton of starts. He's got 6 starts, but he does have 5 top 10 in those 6 starts and 4 top 5s. No victories yet for Mr. Jones, but his average finish of 8.33 leads all active drivers. So I'm going to run Aric with a K Jones in this one. Scott, I know you got a better price than the 20-1 that I see it at.
I'm shocked you even found 20-1. I found 17-1. It's 20-1 on Bet Online.
20-1 on my bookie.
On my bookie, okay.
All right.
I actually did not find a better line than that. I'll take 20-1 on my bookie.
All right, Aric Jones at 20-1 is my underdog pick of the week. The weekend, I guess, since we're doing this for 2 races. Willie, who you got for that long shot?
Well, it seems like we have an awful lot of overlap this week because I'm also on Aric Jones, and you had a better price than I had because I only saw 16-1 at DraftKings.
Yeah, I saw 17-1. That was the best one I found.
But yeah, it's for the same reason you said. I mean, he's finished second here before. He's gotten almost there, and I feel like this is more or less for the purposes of the contest more than anything because I really don't know that he can win this race. But I do feel like he will be towards the top of the field, and he will be at least competing for a chance to win the race.
Yeah, I think if you listen to this show and you were to take our long shots as like top 10 finishers,
you'd be pretty profitable.
You would be very, very profitable. No question about it. I think we've all done a good job with our long shots. Scott, I know you had a streak going there for just about every race where your long shot finished top 10. I had a pretty nice one going. We had Boyer there a couple.
I think I've only lost once, and Boyer came in 11th. I think every other long shot I've had has actually finished top 10.
Yeah, very nicely done. All right, Scott. So we've been Willie and I have I've been a mix of both you guys. Tell us why you're taking Aric Jones.
Simply put, you gave all the reasons I already had. The only issue I had was that he's starting 19th. That's the only issue I really found. But he's got the lowest average finish of all drivers in this track. You mentioned his top 10 finishes. He's finished top 5 in 4 of his 6 career races here. I was thinking about maybe pushing the envelope and going for maybe a Will Byron because he's also done really well here in the past. But as you know, I'm still a little bit concerned about Byron's ability to actually finish races instead of crashing. So Jones is a safe long shot here. That's why I texted you last night to make sure it was 15-1 for long shots because I felt like Jones was a little bit, I'd say, underpriced. I feel like he should have been somewhere around I was going to say 14-1 range, but just because of his success here. But do I think he's going to win the race? No. Do I think he's going to finish top 5? Potentially. So for that reason, I feel like I also had to take him as my long shot. So, Scott, somebody's been stealing somebody else's notes, and we're going to have to get down to the bottom of it.
You guys all have editing capability on my Google Docs? Is that the deal?
I mean, I have Google Docs as well, so maybe there might have been something wrong with the algorithm. But overall, I'm pretty sure the two of us have the exact same picks. And then Willie has 2 of our 3 picks, but he's got Keselowski in there instead of Harvick. I think that's basically how that works out.
Yes.
Which means that either Scott and I are going to do well or Willie's going to do well. And I don't think Scott or I are going to gain much ground on each other over the weekend.
So we had 9 slots and picked 4 drivers.
Yeah.
That's what we did.
Basically,
so,
yeah.
Man, we are either going to be really smart or we are going to look not good at all. I
think Keselowski's odds to win the race just skyrocketed during the course of these 15 minutes, right?
We are ride or die as a group here, boys. That's it's all for one and one for all as the 3 Musketeers go to Pennsylvania this weekend.
Well, I mean, just to touch upon that quickly, we mentioned it briefly. This isn't exactly a track where a lot of drivers have had success. It seems like this is a type of track where the top-tier guys have had success. Erik Jones is randomly a wizard on this track. And you also have Kyle Busch, who none of us mentioned just because of how he's done this season. Where in most scenarios, I feel like we probably would have pulled the trigger on Kyle Busch if it was any other season. But just based on his recent results, we just don't really trust him over the course of an entire race. Is that a safe statement there, Willie?
Yeah, I agree. I want him to do good. I feel like he's gonna break through before this is over with. But
I got to see it first. That's the problem.
Yeah, I totally agree. Willie, you got a prop bet to get the prop section started off here. What do you got? You got something different than the rest of us?
This one may be a little different. I'm gonna go with Bubba Wallace, top 10. Darrell Wallace Jr. I think he's been riding pretty good here. He's never really had a lot of success at Pocono, but he's been driving pretty well, I feel like, this year. He's been pretty consistently towards the top of the field. And at plus 225, I'll take a shot there.
Plus 225, top 10 for Bubba Wallace. I'm looking over my notes. I don't have a history. Has Bubba Wallace ever ran this course?
Not in the Cup Series, in the Xfinity, and he's never finished. He's never even finished higher than I think 21st.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think he's ever finished top 20 here.
But you know what? You talk about red hot drivers. He's not quite not quite red hot in the first tier.
He's not sizzling, but he's lukewarm.
I think if you're second of your anybody out of the top 10, I think he's arguably the hottest driver right now. I think he's doing very well. I don't hate that one bit. I'm a fan of the Bubba Wallace car, the 43, the old Richard Petty car. So yeah, I'll allow that at plus 225. Bubba Wallace, top 10, very nice. Scott, what do you got for props?
Well, I'm not going to be jumping on the Bubba Wallace bandwagon. Simply put, I like to judge this track based on previous success. And Wallace doesn't have much. I do agree that he has run better over the last couple of weeks, but I'm going to kind of stick to the veterans on the track, and I'm going to stick to the guys who I know have performed well here in the past. So some of these props might sound similar because relative they are, but I'm actually going to be starting out with a relative long shot prop. I'm going to go back to the stage 1 bandwagon for the winner. I know that didn't work out last week. Danny Hamlin was right there before he ended up chipping a tire. He had to go to the pits and he was a lap behind, etc. But he was in the top 3 earlier on. We talked about Kyle Busch and how none of us are taking him because we don't trust him over the course of an entire race. However, I will trust him in stage 1. And Kyle Busch to win stage 1 is plus 700 on DraftKings. Simply put, he's starting 4th, so he's got very good starting position here. And if you didn't know, he actually has won the first stage here 3 times. So he has been very good over the first stage over his career, ever since they adopted that stage scoring method, or whatever you want to call it. So for me, I'm going to get a little piece of Busch. I'm not going to take him for the entire race. But stage 1 plus 700, I'm going to take that to the bank.
We've got Busch. Very nice. Very nice there. That's a it certainly is –
was that a Revenge of the Nerds reference there?
That was for Revenge of the Nerds. Very good. Very good. Just when you something about when you said I got a little.
You thought you could slide that one by me.
I was hoping you guys would get it. I never know.
I'm a movie person. I got it.
I throw them out there. I know you guys are 22, 23. So I'm not going to make fun of you for not getting the reference of a 35-year-old movie or however old that is. 30 years old probably. But
nerds. Yeah, I got it.
Okay. All right. Very good.
So you got any thoughts on that play?
Yeah, I was just going to say I'm a fan of that play. Kyle Busch is certainly he's run well at times. Like Willie was saying,
At the starts, he seems to fade late in like stage 3. But
yeah,
if you've won the first stage here 3 times, I feel like you're kind of going out of your way to be leading the race after stage 1. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean he's even done a good job from a couple times. He's been dinged on penalties coming from the back of the pack early. So yeah, I don't hate that. I'd like it to be a little juicier. When you said that, I was hoping you were going to get 850 or 9, but
I starting 4th, so I know that he doesn't really have to bob and weave that much to the start.
Yeah, and I'm sure that makes a difference. So yeah, I'll allow it. That's fair play.
Willie, you got a thought on that?
Yeah, I like it, but it's something about Kyle Busch this year. I really feel like the stage points are going to be what ends up saving him if he's not able to get a win, because he will probably end up in the playoffs.
That's why I also kind of like it even more, because since he hasn't won a race, he's going to need to do whatever he can to even get as many points as possible to make it to the chase. So he might even be more incentivized to actually go for the stage victories.
That's a fair point. That's a fair point indeed. And that kind of just leads me right into my first prop. I'm gonna take a matchup, and I'm gonna fade Kyle Busch. I'm okay
with that. Just not after the first 70 laps. I'm fine with that for the entire.
I'm riding with Willie in the Blue Deuce there. I've got Keselowski over Kyle Busch. Pick up a little positive value there at plus 105. I'll take that matchup all day long. I need Kyle Busch. I'm sure. Again, every week we talk about, he's due, it's going to happen, blah, blah, blah. Every week it gets worse than it was the week before. You know what? I'm going to get burned fading Kyle Busch at some point, but my money says not this weekend. So give me Keselowski over Kyle Busch plus 105. Start with our second prop play here. Scott, I know you've always got some interesting prop plays. Always got some manufacturer stuff. What do you got cooked up in the 2-hole there for your second prop play?
Yeah, well, I got a decent amount of props in store for this one. Kind of on the same boat. You were talking about Keselowski. I'm going to be giving out 2 Ford props once again. You know that I like to double dip on the manufacturer props at plus prices and kind of fade 1 or 2 drivers from manufacturers while backing 2 in particular. So naturally, I'll be taking Kevin Harvick top Ford at plus 200, and I will be taking Brad Keselowski top Ford at plus 300. And both those lines are available on DraftKings. Simply put, Logano has not been too great here, and Ryan Blaney has had mixed results here. It's been better lately, but usually finishes fringe top 10, where Keselowski and Harvick are usually finishing top 5, potentially top 3. So for me, if Harvick wins, you win a unit, and if Keselowski wins, you make 2 units for top Ford. So for that reason, I'm going to be double dipping on Keselowski and Ford, Keselowski and Harvick to be top Ford respectively.
Okay. I like your logic. I do worry about Blaney, but I don't know.
This hasn't been Blaney. Blaney's been good here, but he hasn't been great here. So I feel a little bit more comfortable with Keselowski and Harvick just from a consistency perspective. I do agree, though, that Blaney has just been rolling lately, and he's kind of the dark horse candidate to ruin my entire play. But I do think that there is a very good chance that either Keselowski or Harvick are going to beat Blaney. So that's kind of the reason why I'm doing it.
I think that's fair. I think they're really the only other one you've got to worry about there is Joey Logano.
And Logano's been pretty underwhelming here.
Yeah, not good. Willie, you a fan of that one?
Yeah, I like that.
Okay, all right. Willie, what else you got cooked up for prop action?
I'm going to dive back into the matchups and go with Jimmy Johnson over William Byron at plus 105. And I will say that William Byron has been pretty successful here in his career. He's never finished lower than 18th in the Cup Series. But then again, Jimmy has also ran fairly well here throughout his 36 starts, 3 wins, 11 top fives, and he's been driving so good this year, and he just can't seem to catch a break and finish it up. I really do feel like he will be maybe top 10 towards the top, and I feel like Byron's probably going to be a little further back this week.
Okay. All right. Solid. Scott, thoughts on that one?
I actually looked into that one. Originally, I was shocked that Byron was around minus 130, minus 140, give or take, just based on the track record of both drivers historically. However, if you looked at Jimmy Johnson lately on this track, not great. But at the end of the day, I don't think Will Byron should really be a minus 140 favorite over anybody, let alone Jimmy Johnson. So for value, there's no way I can play Byron at that number. So I think that playing Jimmy there makes sense. I'm personally passing just because Jimmy has not had much success there lately, and most of his good results at Pocono happened several years ago. But it would not surprise me to see Jimmy finish around top 10 and Byron to get into an accident, because that just seems to be how some of his afternoons end during the course of the weekend. So that definitely is something that makes me a little bit scared to pull the trigger on Byron. I don't hate the play just because if you're going to back anybody, or backing Old Reliable is definitely a pretty safe way to do it. But for me, I'm going to pass personally.
Slip those comfortable slippers on just one more time this season. For my second matchup pick, I'm going to fade another one of the popular young guns. I'm going to fade Alex Bowman in that '88 car. I like Joey Logano, and that one of those things that makes me feel old talking about Joey Logano as a veteran, but he absolutely is. He's 10 years now, guys. Something
Feels that way.
27, 28, right in that neighborhood. I do have to pay a little juice on this one, as we have to pay minus 140, and I don't love paying the price. But Bowman has just been not good at this track. He's got 8 career starts, just 1 top 10, 1 top 5. In fact, he's only finished in the top 20 3 times of his 8 appearances at Pocono as a Cup driver. I don't think this is the day that he gets well. Joey Logano, while not being great, he has been fairly solid there at the track. I would take him. He's got a couple top 10s over his last few starts. Again, not going to be Joey Logano for the victory, but I do like him better than Bowman right here. Give me Joey Logano over Alex Bowman minus 140. Scott, your thoughts?
Well, I'm definitely not going anywhere near Bowman from a backing perspective on this track. I think minus 140 is a little bit too rich for my blood, but I definitely understand where you're coming from. If that line was around minus 125, I would take it. But at minus 140, I'm going to personally lay off, but I understand where you're coming from.
All right, fair enough. Willie, is that a little too steep for you to jump in?
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the juice, but I do like the play. I don't think that this isn't really his type of track, so to speak, and Logano's been pretty decent at Pocono.
Yeah, and I agree. He's got the kind of patience and the kind of skill set that you need to have a little success there. So that's going to be my second pick, and for my third pick, I'm going to fade Scott a little bit here. I'm going to take Byron, and I'm going to fade the old veteran Busch brother. I'm going to fade Kurt Busch here. I've got a little plus money at Byron, and I'm going to snap that up as I'm going to take him at plus 100 to topple Kurt Busch. Now, Scott, I think you've made your feelings known on William Byron. Willie, what do you think of that? Of Byron? Is he another one of these checker or wrecker kind of guys, or do you think he's learning as he goes?
I really think Byron is he's promising for the future, but I still don't think he's quite all the way there.
Okay, and Kurt Busch has had a surprising season here at NASCAR, as being in the top 10 in points right now, being right around his brother, as a matter of fact. So, it wouldn't be stunning to see this one go the other way, but I'm just taking a spin. Kurt Busch has not been particularly successful this track in the past. William Byron has run very well there. So I'm going to take him. I'm going to take him and bank on the fact that he can get it done again. Byron over Busch plus 100. Willie got a third pick.
I do. I'm going to take one more matchup, and I'm going to take John Hunter Nemechek at even money over Cole Cluster. And I will say that both of these guys have been extremely successful here in the Xfinity Series. But I just feel like even though Custer may have the better of the better equipment, so to speak, now driving for Stuart Haas as opposed to Nemechek for Front Row Racing, or is it? Yeah, Front Row. That it just seems like Custer's not really driving too well this year, and Nemechek just seems to be he's spotty, but when he's there, he's there.
Yeah, he has had some good runs this season. Willie, what's the price on that? Where'd you get that at?
Yeah, even money at +100.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I'm kind of surprised by Cole Custer's lack of improvement. He doesn't seem like he's been getting a lot better. John Hunter Nemechek is a kid that's he's definitely been mentioned there. He's had some top 10 runs, had some bad racing luck late, but he's definitely had some runs to be proud of this season. I don't hate that. Scott, you got any thoughts on Nemechek over Custer?
For me, I'm just going to pass on that prop together. I do agree that I think Nemechek is more promising for the future than Custer is. For the sake of this race, they're both pretty good in the Xfinity. You never really know how that's going to translate to the major league, so to speak. So for that reason, I'm going to pass. But I definitely understand where you're coming from.
This is the this week was the anniversary. I don't know which one. I think that was in 1878, but it was the Battle of Little Bighorn. So this week is generally not been good to the Custer family. Will for that reason alone, I would fade him.
We'll see if there's any connection there during race day. So
I think that's solid handicapping strategy right there. I don't care what you say. Scott, give me your third prop.
All right, so I'm actually going to give out my third and my fourth because those are the only two matchup props that I actually have. The first one I'm going to give out is I'm actually going to be fading your Joey Logano pick a little bit,
Yes.
but not really. I got Ryan Blaney over Joey Logano at -105 on Fox Bet. Simply put, Blaney's been on fire lately. I mentioned all the stats and how well he's been doing last week before he won. And he's been pretty good here in the past, at least in comparison to Logano. Logano's had mixed results, but in terms of average finish, Blaney's been better. And Blaney, it seems like everything's just clicking for him. And I do think that he could potentially ruin my top 4 to 2 picks over there. But I think there's a better chance of Blaney finishing top 5 than Logano finishing top 5, especially with Logano being favored in this matchup. I don't know if I really agree with that. I think you can make the argument that Blaney should probably be -115 in this matchup. So for that reason, I'll take Blaney at -105 on Fox Bet over Logano.
Okay, all right, paying the nickel juice on there. That's that's not bad. And what are you going to say about Blaney? It's hard to say anything bad about Blaney right now. Obviously, just on fire, just getting it done, overcoming obstacles and everything.
I still like your Logano play. It's just a matter of the matchups, and I think Blaney should not be an underdog in this matchup at all based in current form.
Yeah, fair enough. There's a fair amount of value there. I would give you that. What's your other? We got another matchup?
Yes, it's going to be a really fun one. As we were mentioning some of the favorites, we had one mention of the John Hunter Nemechek matchup. I'm going back to the well on a profitable one last week. I got Ryan Newman. I'm going to be taking Ryan Newman over Bell, and that's available at -125 on DraftKings. Bell, another one of those drivers who has had some success on this track at the Xfinity Series. Kind of mixed results, though. I finished top 5 last year, but the year prior he crashed and finished roughly 30th, so he's had some mixed results here. But simply put, Newman's going to be starting 13th. Bell's going to be starting 36th. So there is a pretty significant head start for Newman in this race. And Newman, believe it or not, even though he might have lost a step or two, he has finished 16th or better in 7 of his last 8 races here. So he has been pretty solid from a middle-of-the-pack perspective. And I don't think Bell's going to finish better than 20th. So for that reason, if Newman's consistently finishing in the top 16 in this race, I think that's good enough to cash a ticket. So for that reason, I'll take Newman over Bell at -125 on DraftKings.
Yeah, I'll take an opportunity to fade Bell on a 2.5-mile triangle track versus the experience of Ryan Newman. I think that's a good play. Again, you started to pay that a little extra juicy there, but I think -125. I think that's a fair price for that bet. I like that play, Willie.
I'm actually kind of leaning the other way there. I just really feel like Newman is just. I thought he was going to do better than he was doing, and he has just seemingly fell off a cliff. Meanwhile, it seems to me like Bell is improving week by week.
Could be. The truth is that Newman, who I thought was awful, if you actually look at his recent results, he's usually finishing in the mid-teens. I thought it was a lot worse. I think Kenseth has fallen off a lot harder than Newman has. And I don't know. A lot of it has to do with just veteran experience and just consistency. And Newman is a consistent top 16 driver here. Bell's had 2 results in the Xfinity, not even counting the actual major leagues here. And he's crashed once and he's finished top 5 in the other. So I just think there's a little bit more consistency with Newman. That's kind of the main reason why I'm taking it. But I do agree that Bell has more upside at this track because you don't really know, and there's a chance he can put together a Tyler Reddick type of performance where he just finishes top 10 out of nowhere. But I don't know. I feel like Newman's the safer play, so I'm going to go with Newman on that one.
All right, good enough. Willie, you got any more props?
Yeah, I've got one more. I like to take a little bit of a gamble with my props sometimes, and I'm going to look for any driver to sweep the stages and win race. The price could be a little bit juicier. It's only plus 550, but I feel like this kind of ties into my Denny Hamlin pick a little bit because Denny has been really good here, and Denny has also won races before where he has swept the stages and won. So for plus 550, I'll take a shot there.
It's actually plus 600 on Fox Bet if you want that instead.
Got that?
Even better.
All right. You know what? I don't hate that. This is a track that doesn't have a lot of. They don't have a lot of cautions. It's a track where it's easy to stay in sync with everybody else's pit stops. Nobody's probably going to out strategy as far as getting a fuel victory there at the end. So it makes it easier to dominate if you've got that dominating vehicle. This is a good track if you're a front runner. You can get out in front and go. Not terrible, Willie. Not terrible at all. I like the logic. Again, wish it was a little juicier than 6, but this is a good track for that to happen. I think that's a much better play than it would be at a place like Bristol or Talladega, where you got a lot of lead changes, a lot of banging and things like that. This is a race where the guys tend to get out front and stay there. So, yeah, I like that. Scott, you got thoughts?
Yeah, inherently I have to not back that pick because I literally took Kyle Busch to win stage 1. I did not have him winning the race. So, but, yeah, it definitely makes sense here. Definitely one of those tracks where the people who are at the front tend to stay in the front. And I feel like, especially with the lack of accidents typically at this track, the flow is going to support the guys at the front, and it's going to be very tough to actually make up some ground over the course of a race. If you see the same drivers in the top 3 or top 5 for about 70 laps, odds are they're going to be there for about 200 laps. I think that's pretty safe. Is that a fair assessment?
Barring engine problems or some unforeseen difficulty, that's absolutely the case. This is not one of your more nail-biting tracks. It's one of the reasons I'm not a huge fan, but hopefully our guys will get out front. For Willie, hopefully, Keselowski. Hopefully Aric Jones gets out there for you and me, Willie, and just stays there all day long. That seems like a likely scenario. All right, you guys got anything else before we head in? Just again to remind our viewers, as far as our picking contests go, our plays will carry over for both days. We'll be playing the same exact plays on Saturday and Sunday. There may be slight differences in the odds as the start.
Well, just to be clear, you're talking about the outrights, not the props or anything, right?
What's that?
You're talking about just the outrights.
I got everything.
I'm saying I don't even know if these are even going to be available. So I can't make that statement because I don't know if you're going to have the exact same matchups for the next race as well. So I'm going to have to take a rain check on that. I do agree with the top Fords and all that other stuff. So I will be doubling down on those for both races. I can't double down on the matchups because it might not be the same matchup. So I can't really touch on that. So, yeah, just to be clear.
Okay.
I'm stepping all over your toes right now. So that's basically how that's working out.
Trying to run a little contest here that I'm losing at anyway.
But the contest is just for the outrights. That's why you confused me.
Okay, well, that was just our advice. You're right. For the contest, you're right. But for the actual advice itself,
yeah.
Okay. All right. It'll probably. May you lose all your matchups the first day and win them all the second day.
Amen. Yeah. So I still have 2 more props to go through.
Of course you do. Okay.
Simply put, this is actually solely based on fading the Chevys here.
Okay.
And I don't really have much faith in any of the Chevys. There's a chance that maybe an Xfinity guy who's been good here, like a Reddick or somebody like that, could make a run. In reality, or maybe even a Byron, the Chevys just aren't good here. It's just pretty self-explanatory. Chase Elliott's been okay. I can't say he's been great here, but he's been serviceable. But in reality, I like a Ford car to win the race at plus 150 on DraftKings, and I like a Toyota car to win the race at plus 165 on FanDuel. Simply put, if one of those 2 win, yeah, I make at least a unit of profit. And the only way I lose both is if a Chevy wins, and I'll fade the Chevys all day, every day at this track. So I think you'll agree with me there. If you want to just pick up borderline a free unit, just take a Ford car to win and take a Toyota car to win. Usually you'll make some money on that.
Willie, what do you think about leaving the blue oval out in the dust? I mean, the bow tie out in the dust.
I like that because, I mean, I really only see, 2 drivers that could really even challenge you there, and that's maybe Johnson or Elliott.
And, yeah, you can make an argument for maybe a run from Byron, but I don't think he's going to win the race by any means. Every driver that we talked about on the race has literally been a Ford or Toyota, and there's a reason for that. It's because the Chevys just don't really have the greatest track record here. You're giving me a plus price on 2 out of the 3. I mean, mathematically, I have a 66% chance of winning. If you want to go based on realistic percentage, I'm probably closer to 90% to cash at least one of those 2. Do you think that's a fair assessment there? I really don't think a Chevy has a shot.
I think Chase Elliott's going to be your only shot as far.
I agree. Then that's it.
I guess Bowman or Busch could sneak in there, but it's not terrible. You definitely cover. You get a lot of the good drivers in that Toyota Ford net.
I'm basically sacrificing 2 units on each side to automatically make at least 1 unit. I feel like that's just mathematically speaking. I'll take that gamble every day.
Yeah, I'm not sure your value is at. I'm not sure you're at 90%, but you're probably upper 70.
You mentioned only 1 driver, so that's kind of what I'm talking about here. If you want to talk about all of the favorites, you have Elliott for the Chevy, and then everything jumps off a cliff.
You're right. You have Alex Bowman there, Kurt Busch, but
how bad Bowman's been here historically.
I know. You're absolutely right. All right, that's solid play. I just
I'm gonna gamble on it. I just think it's worth it.
Okay, is that it? You got anything else?
No, that's it. So those are my last 2 props. I just got the Ford to win and the Toyota to win.
All right, very cool. All right, guys. Well, thanks very much. As we've,
I don't know if Willie has anything else. Willie, do you have anything left?
No, I've emptied out my bag.
Cool.
I thought that's what he said. I thought that's what he said earlier.
I was just making sure.
All right, no worries. Willie, you got a big weekend planned down there in Clarksdale, Mississippi. What are you doing, man?
Kicking back, watching some Counter-Strike. Another day.
How's the esports going today? Doing well?
Yeah, I'm up on the day. Actually cashed, I do believe, 3 bets while we were recording. That's pretty nice.
Outstanding. That's better than I did. Scott, how'd you do while we were recording?
I'm a fan of the war game strategy. Sometimes the best move is not to play. So I just decided to take the day off from esports.
Okay, very good. All right. Well, Willie, thanks for stopping by, man. Enjoy the weekend, and here's hoping you cash every one of all 3 of your plays, because you and I think we have pretty close to the same card. So good luck this weekend, man. Thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Let's go Denny and Jones. Maybe all 3 of us can cash.
Absolutely. That'd be fantastic. Scott, would that make you happy? A real kumbaya moment for us here?
I'll be fine with that. I got no complaints with one of my 3 picks winning.
All right, buddy. What about you? You got a big weekend plan?
For the most part, no. I know we're gonna be back tomorrow to talk about some baseball.
Baseball.
It's gonna be kind of funny because we recapped baseball, but now you have a 60-game season, so now we're doing a recap of baseball, if that's the term that you want to use. It should be fun.
I think we did baseball more days ago than the actual baseball season is going to last.
Could be. Truth be told, I don't even remember. I want to say it was a month and a half ago, something like that. But we were assuming, based on the betting lines from BetOnline at the time, of it being 160-something games. So now some win percentages might have changed. Now you actually have tangible over-under numbers.
Yep.
Yeah, we definitely have a lot to unpack.
That's some juicy ones out there, and we'll be talking about that tomorrow. So, as always, thanks very much for doing NASCAR with us, Scott. Have a lot of fun, man.
Yeah, looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to the UFC card this weekend, but I'll say the same exact thing for the conclusion of tomorrow's video. Absolutely. And, yeah, overall, you actually have golf coverage in like 50 minutes, so that might give me something to watch. So we'll see. Excellent.
And to everybody else out there, we appreciate you guys stopping by every day that you do. As always, we couldn't do it without you. And have yourself a great weekend. Hope you got your little golf action down. Hope you got out of work early on Friday and you're ready to just cruise into the weekend. We'll be back tomorrow, like Scott said, talk a little baseball. That should be fun, as we've finally knows nothing to it. The owners and the players hammered out an agreement. We're going to play 60 games, and we'll be back tomorrow to talk all about that. But until then, I am Scott Steen. He is Scott Reichel. He is Willie Mormon, the one and only Winning Willy down there in Mississippi. For the three of us, we appreciate you stopping by. Don't forget to stop by and check out winnersandwhiners.com. Great content every single day by fine handicappers as these two gentlemen right here. Like I said, we say it every time. Willie's crushing on esports. Get by, make yourself an esport pick, and then get that bet down. All right, you guys take care. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. And we'll be back tomorrow. We're going to light this candle one more time. Until then, we'll see you later. Take care.